Arabia gave Trump this gold necklace. Was that a Flavor Flav kind of necklace?
Man, boy.
I mean, what the,
right? Flavor
the
Flav
hell was
in
that,
the
man?
house. Boy, with the big clock when he first came out, Public Enemy, they were great, man. You know, and he had that great voice that supplemented the lead singer, the lead rapper, right? So differently. Oh,
Right.
he was great. Flavor Flav, yeah. Oh, yeah, man. I'll tell you something. Them Saudis, they know how to lay the bull down.
No question.
They are the kings of bull. They, see, you got to understand something, all right? The Saudis dropped the World Trade Towers. They were the ones that were the financial backing behind the people that actually flew into the towers. And I still, to this day, think it was an inside job with the evil satanic organization called the Bushies and the Saudis. And, they go all the way back to the end of World War II, the Bush family with the Saudi family. Mm-hmm. So they go back a long way. And I don't like Saudis because I think they're as much that Iran that I can't stand, because they do give money to Hezbollah and all of these different terrorist organizations. And you can put your politics aside for this. I think that the Saudis also give money to better their cause, which is the domination
No question.
of the world. And
They play both ends.
Oh, well, the Rothschilds did, and the Rockefellers did, and all of them do. But you are seeing right there, the biggest line of bull that you've ever seen in your lifetime. Now, I love the pomp and ceremony of it all. I'm cool with that. I like pomp and ceremony. I like that. But that was just way over the top. That was like a soap opera on crack. That was like watching the Tasmanian Devil in those old cartoons that Mel Blanc, the man of 1,000 voices, right? He played all of those parts. That was like, and Paul Frees. That was like watching the Tasmanian Devil land down and go away, but times 1,000. It was riveting to watch all of that. And I just love the way those guys plays with their swords. You talk about swordsmen, when they talk about Hollywood and the old swordsmen, well, they were talking about conquests of the night. But these are big boys playing with their swords like this, right? They're playing with I was so inspired. I got my sword out. And I was playing with my sword, and Mama T walked in. She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm playing with my sword." She said, "Well, I wish I could play with it once in a while." And I said, I didn't have much to say there. Right? But, and then, serendipitously, ironically, Quinkydink, that's Torero speak for coincidence, Quinkydink, right? Quinkydink, Ivana gets $100 million into her nonprofit organization. I mean, that makes the Clintons, Hillary Clinton, and Slick Willie look like Montessori school children. I mean, it was just laid out right there for everybody to see. The best way to go behind somebody is to put it right out in front of them so everybody can see it. It bold and beautiful and say, yeah. I mean, it was.
Is that the same as pimping with no shame?
Man, that's pimping with no shame. And you got 500-pound girls out there. Okay, you got 500-pound bull girls that ride the back of the bull, and the big Brahma bull looks back and goes, "Man, I don't want you on me." I mean, are you, man?
Make the bull lay down.
Make the bull lay down, right? I told you, this show is going to be about bull. I started that way, and that's the way it's going to go. I had a monologue about this bull that I was going to do, but I decided not to do it because the way it started, so I'm just going right into it. But, and the other thing that I love so much, what I love is all those, I'm thinking to myself, okay, now the entourage that follows the president, he's got the Beast, and he's got the Beast Plus, the new version of the Beast, the Cadillac Escalade.
I didn't think he had that yet.
Is that does he have the new one, or is he still running the old one?
I don't think the new one is available yet.
Well, it's going to be huge. It's going to
Yeah.
It's going to make that one look small. I mean, it's a
Beast on
Escalade.
steroids.
It's a beast on steroids. Everything that's going on right now is on steroids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no question.
Okay. Everything. All right. So they drive up to the palace and they come in with the entourage. Right now, normally in an American city, when the president comes barreling down the road, you have two beasts, one or the other. Plus, you have the local police. You have the whole road blocked off, and then you have the fire truck, the ambulance. you have the Secret Service and their 5 or 6 vehicles behind. Then the fire truck, and then the ambulance, and the paramedics. You got the helicopter above, and then you have motorcycles in front, usually with a couple police cars. In California, it's CHP that handles all of that down the road. And they're traveling like 60 miles an hour down the road. There's no slowing down. But the president shows up in Riyadh, and the beast is sitting there, and all he has around him is a bunch of Arabs on horses. And I'm saying to myself, I'm looking at this and I'm going, wait a minute, this it doesn't make sense. I mean, look they come down to go to NBC when Jay Leno used to be at NBC, right? They would come down and visit Jay Leno or Johnny Carson, and they had this entourage, but he's sitting there in an Arab nation, right? And in the beast, one beast, no other emergency vehicles around him, and I'm saying to myself, there's just something that's not right here. Everywhere else he goes in the world. Everywhere else he goes in the world. I don't care if it's England, Scotland, Wales, Australia, the Philippines, Hong Kong. I don't care where it's at. They have the entourage. But there, he doesn't have the entourage. Now,
why do you think?
Because they are partners of darkness all the way around.
Wow, I never thought I'd hear you say that. But I said from day one, when it was announced that he was going to Saudi Arabia first, I said, ooh, these guys have more money than God, and the deals are going to be cut there like no other deals in the world.
Yeah.
Bigger than the Chinese deal he cut.
Yeah. Even bigger than the Chinese deal.
Yeah.
Because you see, you got to understand, look, I call it as I see it, either way. You know that.
Yeah.
I don't pull any punches. I do not like the Saudis. I believe in my heart of hearts, after all the reading and research, and you think I'm nuts sometimes, and people think I'm way out in left field, but they financed the bombing of the trade towers, and thousands of Americans died. Thousands died. And they find all the evidence shows that they were the backbone of that. Mm-hmm. And bin Laden was a patsy that was being used. And those 13 guys, they were even bigger patsies. They were Lee Harvey Oswald times 13. Okay? And that, I believe that absolutely. And why? Because here's why. It's a real simple concept. Before we went into Iraq, before we got to Iraq, the Middle East had separate currencies in each one of their countries. Okay? Israel had a centralized bank. That's the only one, all right? But Egypt, Gaddafi, Libya, Jordan, the Palestine, Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, all had separate currency. They exchanged in American dollars on the World Currency Monetary Reserve, okay? So what happened was, the Federal Reserve, which is the largest reserve, national entity that's not a legal entity in America, it was imposed upon us during World War I. The Federal Reserve wanted to have those countries, because when you control a country's monetary system, not the currency, the monetary system, you control the country, and the military and the coups and the peasants and the famine and the wars have nothing to do with it, because you profit in every single situation. And they didn't have those. Coming out of Iraq, out of Bush 1, into Bush 2, into Clinton, into Bush 2, coming and into Obama, coming out of that, you have only 3 countries left in the world that have their own currency. And that's North Korea, and that's Iran. They have their own currency. That's it. Only 2 countries, that is, have their own currency that do not have a national reserve. And they do not trade in American dollars, e-dollars now, okay? So the Saudis wanted to have a part of that control of their region to have the monetary aspect because they were placed in power after World War II by America, by an agreement between America and England, okay? Russia got Iran. Russia got Pakistan. Russia got Afghanistan. Russia got all those countries up there that increased the Russia to the USSR after World War II. The English and the Americans and the French got a little piece of the action, but they're no longer a part of it. The English and the Americans got the oil. And that's what Rommel was protecting, because that's where Germany got all of their petroleum products. And that's why Rommel was there, to protect the oil. J. Paul Getty went in there after World War II, and he dropped so many oil wells where the Saudis have all of their oil wells. They've got a stretch of oil there underground that goes from the San Diego to Los Angeles and 50 miles in from their beach, from their beachhead. It's huge, okay? And J. Paul Getty dropped tens of thousands of oil rigs and wells and wells. J. Paul Getty was Chevron. J. Paul Getty is a lieutenant in the Rothschild Empire. The Rothschild Empire financed the Rockefeller Empire, which was Chevron after it was broke up by the United States government. And Rockefeller said, okay, I'll just create 22 oil companies. And that's what he did. Okay? And Chevron was one of them. Okay? And so we have been in cahoots with these kings for 70, 80 years. They've been Bedouins for 300 years. But after World War II, they became very, very wealthy. And part of the trade-off was that we would forever be partners with them. Okay? Forever. All right? So I don't like the Saudis and what they stand. So Trumpsky goes over there and he goes through this whole pomp and ceremony. It's over the top. Why is it so over the top? No other president ever in the history of the Saudis after World War II has ever received that kind of reception. Why is that? Because that's where the money's at. That's where it's at. Now, I got no problem with a president coming in and getting wealthy, because they all do. Truman was the last one that walked out of the presidency completely broke, or at no pension or anything. So I've got no problem with all presidents. The Bushies, Reagan, the Clintons, Obama, right? All of them walk out very, very, very wealthy, powerful families. Trump's already wealthy and powerful. And as I said, the deal that he made is, and I've said this right from the beginning, and you know this, Lee, they placed him 3 years ago, a guy like him, they placed in that position to move the world to a direction that they can control the world's economy, commerce, and monetary system, so that the empire of America will never, ever stop. That's the bottom line, and nobody talks about this. No one even discusses it. No one even thinks about it. You don't go over there and get the reception he got where nobody else has gotten this, and all this symbolism. It just doesn't happen. And you can't tell me, I'm sorry, that the Zionist Israel, You can't tell me these are Zionists. These aren't. There's several different kind of Jewish faiths. Remember, there were 12 tribes in the 13th lost tribe. There were 12 tribes. There were 12 different faiths fighting each other way back 4,000 years ago. And the Zionists, which created Israel, are the same ones that spawned the Rothschilds. Mayer. Okay? The original Rothschild name came out of Germany. And where did most of the Jewish people come from? Germany, Poland, Western Europe. Okay? So you can't tell me that these people are only 500 miles away from each other in any direction and there's not some deal making going on. Please. It begs my intelligence. But to see this was theater. This was Hamlet all the way. This was King Lear all the way. This was Henry IV. Not Henry V. That was a good one. This was unbelievable. This was Othello all the way. I mean, it's unbelievable what we experienced, and it was just a bunch of bull for you and me to see. And like Lee said, he called it the other day that they're going to make deals that are going to be deals that boggle the imagination. And they just made one. And they're going to make more because there's silent deals going on with Israel. There's silent deals going on with the Palestinians, which is tomorrow. There's silent deals they're going to meet up in Europe after the Palestinians. So come on. 50 Muslim nations show up to Saudi Arabia. 50. When was the last time that you ever heard of 50 Muslim nations showing up anywhere? Because they're Wahhabists. Now, you never heard that word before. They're Wahhabists. The Muslim ideology today, what is being propagated in the jihad, the fundamental Islamic psychopath fanatical killers, they're Wahhabists. All of them are. And they believe that their power comes from the sword. That's what they've always believed. And it just boggles the imagination what we saw today or over the weekend. Hey, look at.
Did you see Trump doing the boogie down with him?
I'm telling you. He was doing the boogie down with the sword. He was doing the boogie down with everything. I mean, it was just classic theater at its finest. And I was just riveted to my smartphone watching this stuff. Riveted because what's going to happen next? Then they roll out this orb. That was it for me. The giant orb. I mean, now, it's all for good cause. Look, they created a whole new center that's going to fight terrorism, that all the Muslim nations are going to fight their own problems. His speech was it's all fine. But it's the action of the symbolism of him going there. Forget the words for a second, because the words, they just come and go. But the actions of his symbolism going there for a very specific reason. And it was the greatest bull story I've ever seen. I loved it.
Now, the arms deal that he cut with the Saudis, the Israelis are kind of upset about that, aren't they?
Yeah, but he's going to cut them an arms deal too. That's already going on.
So answer this. You're a great historian on this, and I talked a little bit about it on my show today. Why do we need to get involved with negotiating the deal between the Palestinians and the Israelis? I mean, until they both want to live and get along, what the hell can we possibly say or do to convince them otherwise?
Nothing. Here's the point.
That's my position as well.
We can't do anything, okay? First off, Israel, when they took Israel after World War II and created the state of Israel, that was actually part of Palestine. So to the winner go the spoils. And the connection between America and the Judeo, which is Jewish, the Judeo-Christian ideology wrapped up in democratic ideals built into a republic that supports itself through capitalism and free enterprise, okay? Where the smartest win and the losers lose. Okay? That's the concept of America. Judeo-Christian concepts. The Old Testament and the New Testament combining together to create a faith, a religion called Christianity or Christendom. Okay? Which half of it is from the Torah, the Old Testament. So when you look at that, we are a nation where Jewish folks are very important. The faith of the Jewish religion is very important here in this country. Many immigrants over the last 200 years, 250 years have come here who believe in that faith. It's very similar to Christendom in terms of its ideology. And so we have a connection to Israel that we don't have with the Arab world. We don't have that with the Arab world. We've been fighting the Arab world or the North African world, North Africa, and the Arab world since America started. I mean, that's where the Marines, from the lands of Tripoli to the Marine battle anthem,
Right.
from the halls of Montezuma to the lands of Tripoli. That was a monologue about the sailors on the first American ship that went into the Mediterranean, got taken over by pirates from Tripoli or Libya. And they held them for several years. No negotiation, no ransom. They held them for several years in captivity, brutalized them. Now, this just wasn't a month. This was years. And finally, the American government said, that's it. We're sending more over there. Well, the reason why it took them so long because we had to build some more ships. We just couldn't fly B-52s over there. We had to build more ships. We didn't have any bases in South Africa. We had to build ships to get there. There wasn't a jet you can go on a 747 out of LAX. You had to build yourself a friggin' sailing ship that could withstand the Atlantic Ocean and get in there and then be able to shoot and support yourself, right? So it took several years because France wasn't helping us. None of the negotiations out of Europe were helping us cross the Mediterranean, all right? So, and no one was helping us to get because no one liked us in Europe when we broke away. But they didn't understand we never really broke away from England. That's why England and Israel are very similar. Think about that for a second. We've never broke away from England. We are still an English colony in a lot of ways. Whether you pay taxes by throwing tea over the thing and paying taxes that way, or you give England, since the end of World War II, since time forever, you give England hundreds of millions of dollars every year that never has to be paid back. It's still a tax. A tax by any other name is still a tax. If you notice, we don't do anything in this world without England partnering up and at least giving us their idea of, okay, that's fine. FDR was itching to figure out a way to get into World War II. Itching. He and Winston Churchill couldn't figure out a way until the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. And that was set up. Some historians say that the embargo that we imposed upon Japan, because they don't grow anything there, and their population was exploding then. And they don't have coal, they don't have iron ore, they don't have giant plains of wheat fields. They didn't have oil. You know where they got all that? From China. That was Manchuria. That's what it was called. So Japan attacked China. That's where they got all of their natural and raw materials, and we embargoed them. So some say that created the pinch, which caused them to either die or fight. So why do we want them to die or fight? We knew they would fight based on their warrior history. We knew they would fight. And that would bring us into Europe. Do you know that we never once defined an act of war against Germany or Italy? Never once. It was against Japan. So when you start looking at the connections, why Israel and Palestine will never get together? Why should we get involved in that? It doesn't really matter. It's not whether they're going to get together. If they do, they do. If they get together, well, that didn't happen per chance. But having Israel there as a extension of the Western world in that part of the world, because they are very westernized. They have all the modern, they're making their own planes now, and they're making their own tanks. They have one of the most sophisticated, they make their own drones, they make their own electronics, they do a lot of their own stuff now. We don't give them as much as we used to. Okay. But in terms of that connection will never, because America is a Judeo-Christian nation. We just happen to be the strongest one in the world, the strongest empire. So with that in mind, that's why Israel and Palestine, we get involved with that discussion all the time. So it's interesting, though, because Saudi Arabia, there are partners there too. And if you notice, moderate Saudi Arabia, moderate Muslims, they still live the Islamic ideology. They still live part of that Sharia code, the Sharia code. You know, women can't do certain things in that country, and men can. I mean, it's still very strict amongst their own population. They still take people out of their houses. It's not, America there. But we support them because that's about the oil. We actually own the oil. There are partners there. So that's the interesting aspect right there, is you have America with two friends, one for economics and one for ideology, in a region that economics and ideology have been fighting each other for 6,000 years. Even when Rome was there, they were fighting. And Rome was all about the economics and the conquering of land, the conquest of taxes. You couldn't tax any more of the shoe in Italy, so you had to expand your empire if you wanted more. You had to tax new people. You had to take their natural resources, whatever they were. So we haven't changed in terms of that. So it'll be interesting what the deal he makes with Palestine tomorrow, because he's also going to. They're already making deals. They already made deals with Egypt, and this whole thing to 50 nations show up, Muslim nations. They create this whole center in Riyadh with magnificent technology, all the latest terrorist fighting technology, and the most important thing was the orb, the orb. Let me tell you, if I ever go there and I touch the orb, I'm going to have a sexual experience right there. I am. I'm just,
It doesn't take much, huh?
No, I tell you, it's better than Viagra and Cialis. Okay?
You're sick.
You got to touch the orb. Baby, come touch the orb.
You can't touch my orb. I'm sorry. It's off limits. You go play with somebody else's orb. Leave my orb alone.
I can't mess with the big Orbinski?
No.
Come on, man.
No.
It's the orb.
No.
It's the orb.
That's all right. It's untouchable.
We're soon going to see orb toys, orb T-shirts, and orb hats. We're going to see orb shoes.
You're getting ready to go in orbit. Right after you have your orgasm.
my buddy Del Bird, who's diametrically on the opposite side of everything that I say.
Okay.
But
Smart man.
yeah, he's not. He's a Del Bird. You know why they call him Del Bird? Because he's like a Del Bird. Del Bird, you're a Del Bird. In fact, there used to be a bird called a Del Bird. And you're the last one left. So he says to me, "Hey Jesse, question: if we are energy independent, why the hell would we ever deal with the Saudis? Because we use everybody else's up first. We are an empire. Don't forget, America is an empire that is designed to take everything that the world has to offer. Either we take it by force, or we take it by maneuvering, or we take it by economics, or we take it by food, or we take it by any politically, we take it. It's just that simple. We're an empire. And
Now,
that's
we have
why.
a huge oil reserve
We got
right
so
now,
much
right?
oil reserve. We have so much oil. Our oil reserve is larger than the Saudis. The Saudis are going to run out in 30, 40 years, they're projecting. I think around 2050, 2060, they're going to start hitting the bottom of the barrels unless they find some other petroleum underneath the sands there, which they
Right.
may in fact do. But America, from Canada all the way down to Texas, the whole heartland has two things underground. Oil, and I'm just not talking the shale where you have to do the fracking.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We have oil,
The real stuff.
the real stuff, the tarry,
the pure crude.
the crude, tarry, black crude. Because
Heavy.
that stuff is heavy. It's not like water. It's not like what you put in your engine.
Yeah.
That's processed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. This stuff that comes out of the ground, it's
thick.
hot.
Yeah.
It's burning hot. It's thick. And the minute it hits the air, it hardens. It hardens very fast. So they got to keep it, hot and going.
Yeah.
And then we have natural gas, because right before you hit oil, generally you hit giant reserves of natural gas pockets. So we have more natural gas than anywhere else on the planet that we know of.
So is the natural gas a byproduct of the oil?
It's not necessarily
Down
a
on the
byproduct.
ground?
It's just how it stacks up.
Yeah.
And then we have water. The largest underground aquifer in North America, from Canada to Chile, North, South, Central, in this whole hemisphere, the largest underground aquifer starts at over the Canadian border and comes down all the way to about Oklahoma, and then goes all the way over to like around Tennessee, and kind of makes that curve, and then back up to Illinois.
Yeah.
It's almost trillions of gallons of fresh water. And that's what they're so concerned about, the fracking. The naturalists were so concerned about the fracking mixing in with the aquifer, because in order to separate the oil from the rock or the shale, they have to pipe down high-pressured water with
Right.
chemicals in it,
Right.
which are toxic.
Force it up. Yeah.
So then that toxic liquid gets thrown out in North Dakota fields, open fields. They would build these giant pits out in North Dakota when they were doing all the fracking, and it would get thrown out in there. They didn't know what to do with this toxic water, so there was pools of toxic water sitting in North Dakota during all those heavy years of fracking, until they figured out finally what to do with it. And
What did they do with it?
cleaning it, but it's so much, and the biggest problem was it's seeping back into the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Why don't we send it to the moon?
yeah, well, you know,
Jupiter
we've
or
never left the moon. That's
Yeah,
another one.
I've heard you mention that.
You just got to use logic, okay, on things.
Well, who's up there?
Scientists,
But when did we put them there?
we don't know everything. We don't know what's getting shot off at 4:00 in the morning from Cape Canaveral or Vandenberg. They tell us it's a missile that they're checking. That's maybe that missile they shot, that Minuteman missile that they shot over, just to show North Korea that ours can go 8,000 miles, so we better stop, little boy.
Right.
Right? Maybe that was something that they put into orbit. Nobody knows. Only the ones that know are the ones that know.
So some of the people that may be missing might be up there?
I think we've never left. I think we've never left. We've never left. We've never left.
Well, I can tell you this. I went to the Smithsonian
Yeah.
Institute. And I
That's
saw the outfits that
Yeah.
the alleged were used to go to the moon and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it was just like some canvas outfits, man.
It's
Come on.
paper thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the guy who did the great director Stanley Kubrick said a year before he died, he gave a testimonial on film that he was the director that actually did the moon shots in a studio in a secret base out in the middle of Nevada. And
No
he did
shit.
all the first 3 moon shots were all fabricated. The ones after that, he said, were legitimate. We didn't have the technology. His concept was we didn't have the technology, so they looked me up and hired me because we couldn't let the Russians beat us. They were ahead of us in technology.
So we faked it.
Faked it till you make it, and then we finally got the technology to get us there. And then when we were the public was losing interest. If you remember, and you'll remember this better than I, because I was a kid, the last 3 or 4, 5 moon shots, right around there, the public, it was just like watching a Clorox bleach commercial.
Yeah,
It was,
yeah.
oh,
No big deal.
Going to the moon again? Oh,
Oh,
okay.
cool.
Oh, great. Right.
Yeah.
Until they had the accident.
Yeah. This shit started blowing up.
And they were golfing on the moon. They had that buggy on the moon. They were jumping up in the air like basketball players on the moon. They were doing all kinds of crazy antics to get the people to enjoy it.
Get back engaged.
But they didn't. So they had Apollo 13, which the Tom Hanks movie,
Yeah.
have this almost disaster, and that captured the American
Made us pay attention again.
imagination and fear,
Yeah.
which we paid attention, and he said that was contrived too. He did that one. They called him back to do that one. Now, this is Stanley Kubrick, one of the Hollywood's greatest directors. 2001: Space Odyssey, A Clockwork Orange, first movie. Dr. Strangelove,
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking the best of the best. He was the George. In fact, he was 10 years ahead of George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. They were coming out of high school, getting into college, and he was leaving. He was already making films,
Right.
And they all looked up to Stanley Kubrick. He was their hero, Lucas and Spielberg and those guys, that group.
Yeah.
Okay, from the director's standpoint, and why would he do that? He wasn't dying. He wasn't unhealthy. Why would he do that?
Got paid.
I mean, why would he just come out and say? Why would he come out and say that? Now it's interesting. He was actually relatively healthy, and then he died about a year or 2 after that interview. It's on YouTube and stuff. You can see it. It's fascinating because he says things in there that you have to question yourself, and you go, well, yeah, how would he know that?
Mm-hmm.
But then in the original movie of When the Earth Stood Still
Right.
with Gort, the giant robot, which was my favorite. Gort? Was it Gort?
I think it was Gordon.
Yeah. That was a movie that was created by the CIA to test the public and how we would react to extraterrestrials actually landing on Earth and giving us the ultimatum. And all the major studios turned it down. And finally, they got one to do it. I believe it was Warner Brothers. They finally got Warner Brothers, but it was turned down and turned down. No one wanted to do it. And they finally did it through Warner Brothers. And there's thoughts about that. That was, you see, we're being moved all the time, and we don't know it by what we see. And so this whole pomp and ceremony stuff, it's just great theater for our minds. And what's really going on is the forever creation and domination and lasting ability of the American empire. And I call America an empire because it really is. So goes America, so goes the rest of the world. I mean, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't like to live like the Indians live in India.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's rough everywhere else in the world, even in major nations, even in France and Germany. They don't live like us in America.
That's true.
I mean, they have a good life, but it's not our life. We live in a world here between the oceans that is very unique to the rest of the way the world lives. Canada would be about the closest thing that is similar to America because they're right there.
Right.
In fact, there was a thought during the Continental Revolution that they would just go up and take Canada too, away from France and England.
Mm.
So that could have been very easily part of America, but we didn't do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Enough is enough.
Well, you know, for whatever reasons, we didn't go up there. So Dale Bird says, so the $100 billion arms sale was only about oil? Yeah, that's all it is, Dale. It's all about oil and domination as an empire. We have forts in Saudi Arabia. We have forts in Israel. This is no different than having a fort in Fort Carlson, Colorado, and Fort Abilene in 1846. It's no different. This is no different than the English Empire having South Africa, having Australia, having India, where the sun never sets on the English Empire. It's no different. These are our forts. These are our establishments, and that's what it's all about. Because it's all about economics. It's all about monetary, not currency. The monetary system of every country. And it's the consolidation. That's why I'm so. This is why I fight so much against the consolidation of our currency. Nobody carries dollar bills or quarters or change anymore. Everything has gone onto the card. Pretty soon it's going to be an RFID chip of some sort, a scan on your tattoo or something they're going to do, and that's all coming, and it's coming fast. And they're going to cloud it in an idea that it's good. It's good. They're already doing it in Europe. They're already doing it. It's already happening there. So why does the Arab world hate Obama? Well, I call it Obama, but seems to love Trump. Well, it's real simple. That's a real simple question to answer, because Trump is about money. It's about economics. It's about business. It has nothing to do with what he was about. Okay? It has everything to do about economics. Simple. Everything revolves around the power of a monetary system and the control of it. Everything. Anyway, hey, we got our music back. All right. Well, that was a wild, fun show that kind of started off a little different. Tomorrow, right here, 5 to 6, the Jesse T Show. Who knows what we're going to be talking about this week? It's sort of an open week. And we'll see what's going on here and what's coming up. All right, check it out on Facebook.com/Jesse Terrero, The Power of Voices.com, AVEntertainmentLive.com, YouTube Live, The Power of Voices, Periscope, Instagram, and Straight on the Point. And you are straight on the point, and you're in the world according to Terrero. You have a great day. Monday, the Brown Beauty's off duty. See ya!